Hello, hello. Hope you're having a great day. It's a great day over here. And yeah, my name is Billy Arlu, and I'm going to talk to you about all 7 of my skate setups. One for every day of the week. I could skate a different setup every single day, and I could swap frames and skate like for another week probably. When I was thinking about how to make this video, I was thinking about going from my least favorite to my most favorite skate, but I didn't think that was fair because I like them all for different reasons. So I've decided to organize all 7 of the skates from the ones I can skate for the least amount of time to the ones I can skate for the most amount of time. So duration based. And yeah, I've got a lot of questions about the Adapt versus the Wizard, and I thought, let's just talk about all of it. And if folks are interested, I'll do a separate video on just the Adapt because I think there is not enough information out there about the skate. Without further ado, the skate that I can skate for the least amount of time is the Adapt. This was supposed to be an investment into the skate that I could skate forever, for as long as I want. And ultimately, I have struggled to make that happen. I would say that this is the highest performing skate in terms of the ability to do technical tricks and have a lot of power and response out of the skate. So I am addicted to skating it, but it does hurt me, unfortunately. The reason I bought this skate in the first place is because no other skate that I've had enough room in the toe box in terms of width. This one does, I would say. I still, it's still a skate. I'm still inside of it. My foot is still hitting all parts of it because this is size 43. I'm usually a 44. But yeah, the recommendation was to go for this sort of downsized performance fit. And ultimately, the inner ankle bone on both feet just hurts. It hurts so bad. My ankle presses into the liner, which then presses against the carbon, and it's super thin. Like I fully packed out that part of the liner. So I have done multiple heat moldings of the liner, multiple heatings and moldings of the shell, and ultimately I think I just need more space here, or some sort of custom fitted liner or something like that. I just haven't been able to skate it pain-free. So in terms of skate that I can skate for the least amount of time, that's this one. It's a glorious time when I'm skating it, but then as soon as I kind of get into, I don't know, the skate is warmed up and my foot is warmed up and all that sort of stuff, like I just start to experience a lot of pain in the ankle bone, and that's exacerbated by a long frame. This skate to me seems like it's designed for going forward and backward. It's basically a speed skate with a taller cuff. I don't really understand how people skate it aggressively, but I guess because it's not very tall, you can tilt it to the sides for grinds. But wizard skating is all about like twisting the skate and swiveling, right? So I personally just think that a skate like some of the rest of these that has an engineered amount of flex into it is potentially better for wizard skating in terms of like the classical sense. Unless this thing fits you perfectly, I think it's gonna cause some amount of pressure and ultimately potentially pain. Not big enough for everybody, but for me, for sure. So that's why I've got the short frames on here. They don't have very much leverage on the boot, right? You're not having a lot of extension off the boot that when it catches on the ground during a swivel can really like wrench your skate around your ankle and like, cause like abrasion. So I've also tried a couple other frames on this boot. So I've tried the Endless Arc in the short length. This one's probably my favorite because it's not that much bigger than the boot, but ultimately I did a couple too many slides, flattened out the rocker, and when the rocker is flat, it grabs on the ground and is causing pain, more pain than I wanted. So another frame I used was this one, very futuristic setup, right, with like kind of industrial look to it. It's lightweight, just like the boot, but again, the frame is just very long, and so on rougher ground when I'm trying to do swivels and stuff, it was just wrenching my ankle around inside the skate. I also really liked this one. I have this one set up very swivelly. These are 72s in the middle and 90s on the ends, but the 90s are quite worn. And the 72s are newer, so there's like a good healthy rocker to it, and that was actually really nice. I might go back to that just because it's very planted, very low to the ground. But ultimately, I do like the 4x80 setup because it's super light. I can just dance and I can like sprint in it and run. I can jump onto really tall stuff with this. And yeah, I'll do a whole separate video, I think, where I'll break down the boot and show all that stuff. But yeah, there's some unfortunate things, like the straps have kind of worn through here and the plate broke when I was skating like a wall ride or something like that. So yeah, it's a very interesting, exciting skate to wear. But for me, I struggle because it's just causing me a lot of ankle pain. So great for a couple hours, maybe a little less than that I can get away with, but clicking above that, it's pretty rough. So all right, and on to the next. This boot is the polar opposite of the Adapt. It is not super lightweight, in my opinion, pretty chunky, and as opposed to the Adapt, which has a ton of forward flex, this one has very little forward flex. There's these double straps up here, the liner is super tall, and this boot feels like it's designed for toe presses. You lay your shin on here like a ski boot, and you just get into the toe press super easily. I find that when I'm doing my type of skating, which is a little dancier, more into the swivels and less into the presses, I miss the freedom of movement that all my other boots allow. And so I have to really kind of simplify the movements that I'm doing when I wear this skate. And the nice thing is, it's carbon, it's very stiff, I just tell it what to do and it pretty much does it. But in terms of really inflecting it onto the edges, it's a challenge for me. I don't think it's fully broken in yet, although I've skated it quite a few times. So I'm looking forward to when I can lace it all the way up and tighten the straps and get all that support. But for now, I leave the strap pretty loose and I don't lace it all the way up. And so the flex that I achieve is actually just space back and forth. And so my shin ends up rubbing against the tongue, and it ends up being pretty painful. I can't skate it for that long, and I can't skate it very far. This is like maybe if you drove to a spot and seshed it, that would work, but I skate from my house every time, pretty much. So I need something I can skate for a couple miles, then have a session, go a couple more miles, whatever. This one is tough to cruise around town in. I definitely feel like I'm not striding in a natural, organic, kind of ergonomic way. I have to really, like, this is very vertical in the back here too, so I just feel pretty locked in. But it is powerful, and it has been fun skating this with these longer frames, like the 7290 from Roka was pretty cool. Really interesting, paired with this mega frame that was experimental, I won't say prototype, but just an experimental frame from Roka. There are 125s on the ends and 76s in the middle. So I think that's going to be a good like winter setup. Ski boot, basically, ski frame, basically, and just tinkering around in a small area. You know, like it's going to get dark at like 5 p.m. and I'll just go tinker with this and see how that goes. I think that'll be a nice kind of winter setup, and maybe I'll get them broken in a little more. But yeah, ultimately, I need to talk about something with this boot. All the information I've seen says this is the same fit as the Seba that preceded it as the Wizard boot of choice. But I gotta say, as someone with a wide foot, like this toe box is not as wide, and so I've had a lot of pain skating this in the toe, and the heel to me seems roomier, so I get heel lift as well. So I've ended up putting some pads on the liner to just try to pack out the Achilles area and around the ankle bone, similar to what the Intuition Premium has, like that wrap that goes around. That has helped. I've played with heel risers and different types of things, but ultimately I did try the 43 and it really, really hurt. Like I almost like feel like I injured my foot trying to skate the 43 of the Wizard base high. So I went with the 44, which is a little roomier, but I still don't have the width that I need. So it's a delicate game with someone with like a wide foot. You really got to find what works for you. And I'm going to keep pushing with this thing, but you know, it's going to be in small bursts because with the carbon shell and the narrower width that I need, it's there's nowhere to go. It's just grinding on carbon. So that's number 2 in terms of duration. Number 3 in terms of duration, a skate that I just got recently. I haven't been able to skate this for very long because it is actually bigger than what I'm used to. So this here is the Seba, CJ Pro model from, I don't know, 8-9 years ago. It's green, as you can see on the vinyl here, and it's carbon, which is cool. It's my first Seba carbon boot. All the others I have are plastic, and it's a 44 carbon, which is actually longer than the 44 plastic. So I think the 43 and 44 plastics share a shell size, which probably is why the 44 is smaller. In any case, this is also fully gutted 44 carbon, and so I just have a lot of room in here. I didn't expect that. When this was offered to me by a friend in the UK who's looking to sell it, I said immediately, yes, of course, I want to have that green hotness. And then I got it, and I've kind of struggled to find the right liner to go with it, because like the premium fills up the liner, or fills up the shell, but then the premium is like a little too thick in the toe. So then the Wizard is in here, but then it's roomy in the heels. It's been a bit of a struggle to get this one to fit perfectly. But man, it is lightweight. Like, it's crazy how much lighter the carbon Seba is than the plastic Seba. But I will say, because it's gutted, I feel the top edge of the carbon. Like, the carbon only goes to about here, and then it's just soft. And because it's so soft up at the top, it's so rigid at the bottom, I can really feel that like harsh edge of the carbon. So put a bunch of duct tape on the inside of it to try to smooth it out and everything. And the other thing I've modified here is I took off the slider plate, and then the receiver that's on the inside I removed as well. I could feel it right on my knuckle of my toe. And so I took that off, and it got a little better, but you can see it's not crazy wide. I don't think this is as wide as the plastic, but I could be wrong. In any case, I'm paired this up with the Arc ES for now. It's just kind of a fun kick around skate. When I used this with the advanced frame, it was just too much frame for how little control I had over the boot. So ultimately, can't skate this one super long before it starts to feel floppy, like when the skate gets hot or whatever, warmed up and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, those are fancy carbon skates. I can skate the carbon skates for the least amount of time. I don't know if it's a surprise to anyone, but it's a surprise to me. I thought by buying a carbon skate, I was gonna be like, my life problems would be solved. But the real problem solver is this crazy contraption here. This started out life as a Powerslide Doop 100, 3x100. I modified the frame and put on the Endless Trinity 90 LR. And I've got the stock toe strap here, and then I swapped out the tongue piece, and ultimately I swapped from the 2-piece hinged cuff that comes stock on the Doop, or the older Doop, for this 1-piece cuff from the Shadow Latimer 25th anniversary skate. This I call my recovery skate. If you'll notice, the place where my small toe, the wide part of my foot would be, there's nothing there. And so there's no pressure. I can skate this, in that regard, I can skate it for a long time. But unfortunately what happens in terms of being able to skate this for a long time is you get tired. There's not a lot of support from this upper section. And so what ends up happening to me is this bottom edge of the plastic starts really digging into the top of my foot after a while. That kind of hurts. And I just kind of get exhausted. Like, your foot, you're standing on this base plate. It feels like you're riding like a weird skateboard thing. And you can really crank down this toe strap here. And that's really nice for like locking your toes down onto the base plate, offering a lot of control. But you have this nice control feeling, but there's no support. It's like responsive but not supportive, if that makes sense. And so you're really having to steer this skate. Everything that it does, your foot is doing. As opposed to most skates, you use kind of your knee and your hips and your ankles to steer the skate. So this ends up being a bit taxing to skate, but I have done some multi-hour, I led the group ride on this and it was fun. The nice thing about that responsiveness of being really strapped down to the toe part is you have a lot of control. You can really steer and you can double push and all this kind of stuff, but it's really good for short trips. This is probably the skate I skate the most in terms of the short duration stuff. So if I need to go get groceries or whatever, or run an errand, I throw these on in about 45 seconds and I can pop them off in about 15 seconds. So that's pretty amazing. It's not the best Wizard skate, but it is interestingly rewarding. And because of this toe strap and all that control that you get, it's very dancey. So I'm only going to ever skate this with a short frame. I think with a long frame it would just be really frustrating. You just feel no control. So, but yeah, I do love this. It's definitely really cool. If you're thinking about doing like this dupe thing, I would not get the shadow version because the base plate's really, really wide. And even though this is quite wide, it's not going to scrape the ground as much if you're doing it with big wheels and stuff. I was tempted to get the Dustin Latimer 25th anniversary skate because I have all these UFS frames, but I just knew that wide sole plate was going to be scraping on the ground. So this is a little narrower. The Trinity mount I think helps stiffen up the skate as well, considering there's not a lot of it. And yeah, it's a beaut. It's my crazy contraption. All right, we are moving into another plastic skate, an unlikely third place on my list of skates that I can skate for the longest and shortest. So this skate was given to me by K2, which is pretty cool. Shout out. That's kind of like a dream scenario. Yeah, it started life as a grid 110. It was a 3x110 frame, which I swapped out for a 4x90. And this was from my friend Al, so thanks Al. And it was already scratched up when I got it, so I have been doing some Machio grinds and some stalls and stuff on here. The bottom surface of this skate is quite hard and stiff and thick, so it's like got a good base feel, let's say. It also has a really nice shape. There's a raised heel, and then the toe ramps up in the front. So I find that kind of interesting, and not many people talk about like the shape of the actual footbed here, but that ramped front of the toe kind of helps you feel cradled in the skate, whereas all the other Wizard style boots are a totally flat base that we put a tilted frame on, so you're kind of standing on a downward slope. This one feels like you're kind of cradled in the boot, which is really nice. Strange thing about the K2 grid, it's also size 44, maybe 43 and a half, but the shell is super, super long. And I think what they were going for here was they're like a soft boot company and they go for comfortable skates. So they spec a really, really thick Intuition liner. It's like way thicker all around than any other Intuition liner, Premium, Wizard, all that kind of stuff. Maybe it's comparable to them. I think it's even thicker. And so then the shell is even bigger. And so I think the only reason I can skate this skate for as long as I can is because it kind of is too big. It's possible to strap it down enough where I have enough control, but honestly I like skating it as though it was an aggressive skate. It's got a lot of flex to it in the foot area. Like I said, it's very thick in the bottom, but then when you get up to the top, it's very thin. And so there's just a lot of mobility. I can move around within this skate a lot, whereas a lot of the other skates you're locked into a position. So I've come to really enjoy the sort of slidey, thrashy kind of skate park, aggressive skate feeling of this boot. With the short frames is really nice. I also skated this with a 165 mount Arc ES, and I really enjoyed that too. It starts to get a little floppy with this frame just because of how big the boot is, but ultimately like this works really well with it. I do think K2 should release a version of this with the Arc. I think that'd be super, super cool to get folks who know K2 for skiing kind of like indoctrinated into Wizard style. But yeah, it's not the widest, but because it's sort of oversized, it accommodates me pretty well. And I did punch it out at the ski boot shop, thanks to help from my friend Bowen. And yeah, that's about all I want to say about this one. It's pretty cool. It's got this speed lace thing from the ski kind of world where you wind this up and tuck it in. And yeah, it's just a fun skate, but it's definitely not the one I'm going to choose when I'm going to go do like a really technical wizard move, because it's just a little smushy, a little soft. So that brings me to second place and first place in terms of duration. They're basically the same boot, but this is the one I can't quite skate as long as the first place skate. This is the CJ2 Prime in white, or it was white before I skated it for a year and a half and sweated in it and gathered dust and all that gross stuff. It's set up aggressive right now, but I usually use like an arc frame or a 4x100 or something like that. I just was feeling the itch to do some grinds and some funky stuff, and oh my gosh, I chewed up these wheels. Whew. So the reason I can't skate this one quite as long and I don't like it quite as much as the first place skate is that the toe box on this one is really tall. It's got good width, but there's just a lot of room up here. I kind of prefer it to be a little shallower, and it also feels just bulkier. It's puffy with all this kind of mesh on it, and it doesn't feel as stiff as the other plastic Seba that I have. I don't know what it is, if it's just a difference in materials, but even though it's a couple years newer, it just doesn't, I don't know, it just feels a little clunky, a little bulky. I got fresh cuffs on here, fresh straps, because I was moving some things around when I got these new carbon ones, and the new cuffs do help. It does make it feel stiffer, and so I'm looking forward to putting big wheels back on here and seeing how that feels. I've got the Wizard liner in here now. That's because I actually want flex for the grinding setup. But yeah, the Wizard liner to me is inferior to the Intuition Premium liner, because there's not a lot of provisions for like heel retention in the Wizard liner, and because it's just thinner overall, it just doesn't feel like it's as supportive as the Premium liner. So so it does a good job, but you know, second place.
And now,
First place, the skate I could skate as long as I want. The skate that I've taken to Berlin twice and skated for 12 hours a day for 4 days in a row is the Seba SX Wizard spec boot. I guess that's what it's called. So this one got the vinyl all the way around. This is one I got from a friend like 4 years ago, I want to say, 3 or 4 years ago. And it's just built different. It feels higher quality. It has an integrated strap compared to the CJ2, where they just decided to ditch this. It's more durable, right? I do a ton of toe presses with my feet touching, and this just hasn't really had a problem here. Because of its age, I have had to re-glue this upper kind of skin or soft boot part onto the plastic base, and the heels are separated, which is I think the case with all Seba boots. And so I've re-glued this recently just to see if it works or not. But yeah, this is just an all-day setup. Not just necessarily with this frame. I mean, this frame has become one of my favorites, but the boot itself, especially with the premium liner, the premium Intuition liner fills up the toe box really nicely, and it has the ability to have the cuff wrap, which has Achilles like little padding and retention on it, and so I've really enjoyed that. It just feels like my foot is locked in here, and I can get it real nice and tight, and it just stays tight. It doesn't hurt in the same way. I don't know if it's any wider than the CJ2 Prime. I assume it's the same thing. I don't know, it's just more broken in or something like that. But I love this boot, and I also love it paired with this frame. This is the 90 Ultra from Endless, and I've also been using the 100 Ultra from Endless on this, as well as literally every other frame that I have. This is my favorite boot. And yeah, something about this 90 Ultra, the wheelbase is the exact same length as my foot. It's 285 millimeters, and it's a slightly longer wheelbase than the typical 4x90, and so it just disappears underneath me. Like a typical 4x90, I have to be a little bit aware of not leaning too far forward or backwards. With this one, it is supporting me from a length perspective, but it's not too long where, like on the 100, I have to be aware of clipping, my feet against each other. It just disappears and I can just rip on it. So this is my number one favorite skate, and the others are also my favorites, but I can skate this one as long as I want, and I think that's pretty important because I skate a lot. Anyway, if you watched this far, I really appreciate it. And if you want to do the liking thing and subscribing thing, that'd be cool too. But I just put this out there because I would want to hear this from someone else. So if you're watching and you've got opinions about your skates, I would love to see people talk about their stuff and learn something, hopefully. But yeah, that's all my skates. And yeah, I'll do maybe a deeper dive on one or two of them. But thanks for watching.